What's up, everybody? We're back here at Apocalypse Movies to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp a little bit more. This is going to be our spoiler breakdown and discussion, but we got a round table here today. I am Jacob Bartley. I'm joined by Jake Berlin, Brian Avalosino, and Keith Barnes. We got 4 of us on the podcast today. What's going on, guys?
Not much.
Yeah.
We've all seen it. We've been waiting days.
So Jake and I did a short spoiler review, but of course we want to go into depth and talk more about the film. I haven't really spoke to Keith or Brian that much about their thoughts, so I want to throw it to them first. Keith, what are your overall thoughts on this movie just in general?
Excellent. I loved it. I immediately I was watching it, and it was a comic booky movie. I posted that on Facebook.
That's a good,
very comic booky.
I never thought about how much of a comic book movie it is. But
it was
really
just just a comic book on screen to me. Just the adventure it wasn't a big thing where there weren't buildings falling and the world wasn't at stake.
It was another personal story.
Yeah,
just like the first one.
And very much
great.
And I enjoyed it for that. It was a smaller scale, but it was still a lot of action and adventure, and there were stakes. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I loved it also. I thought it was really fun, and the pace never really slowed too much. Kind of kept going throughout the whole movie, and it was just the fun comedic movie I was totally expecting it to be.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. I haven't seen it a second time yet. I'm gonna see it again soon. I don't know if I like it more than the first one. That's the question that everybody's being asked. You do?
I think I do.
I do.
Yeah, everybody else here does.
Yeah.
The reason why I can't just automatically say that is because I love the first one so much. Like, it's different for me. Some of the things that I loved in the first one weren't done as well in this one. But this movie on its own is fantastic. Like, it's so enjoyable. My favorite thing is Paul Rudd and his daughter. Like, those are the best parts.
They had a really, really good relationship, and it was kind of started in the first one, and she didn't take as much as a front row seat as she did in this one in the first one, but you kind of got hints as far as the kind of character that she was and what she meant to him. It's emphasized that much more in this movie, and you had mentioned the dialogue between the two of them in our review. They have some really, really good back and forth between the two of them. And the little girl that plays Cassie is great.
She's adorable.
She is
good.
so good.
I love that it's the same girl. She's a good actress.
She's really good. And it started off with that sled down his house in the beginning, which was really fun. But it's no surprise to me just because it's been talked about for so long that the rumor is that they're casting an older version of her for Avengers 4.
They did, yeah.
And the theories
no idea.
So they're casting.
She's like
They're casting an older version, a teenage version of her for Avengers 4, and the theory is that when they time travel, they're going to see the young Avengers, and she's going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, I got that through the whole Ant-Man movie, where they're hinting towards her becoming like a wasp.
And it's going to drop in Avengers 4 that she's going to be a part of the young Avengers.
No way.
Yeah, so it comes to no surprise that they're making her such a big deal, because she could have eventually be a huge part of this universe if they end up taking the Young Avengers pretty seriously.
I was thinking about that during watching Ant-Man.
And so,
they kept hinting at it.
The cool thing for me is that I love the fact that she's just like, go be a hero, do your thing, you save people, that's who you are. Yeah. And then that one panning shot of Giant Man on screen, and it sees the adult couple, and it pans down to her, and she's just smiling and giggling. Like, it's just her. And so, their relationship was one of the best parts of this movie, and I love the relationship that kind of started to create with Evangeline Lilly's character as well at the very end. It's truly Marvel's real serious family between the three of them, because obviously Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne are together, and obviously he has a daughter, and we don't see that in the MCU, and so it's kind of a nice little fresh piece of the MCU.
Absolutely, yeah. Man, you got me thinking so much about the possibilities for the future.
I can't believe you didn't hear about that.
I really didn't. But for this movie, did you guys think that the Hank Pym storyline, did you like his storyline in this film, like, more than the first one, or do you think he was involved more?
I think he was definitely involved more.
It made him kind of a bad guy.
I was just going to say that. It pointed to...
His backstory makes him...
Well, he has a dark backstory for sure.
He's like that in the comics. Where
that's exactly what I was going to get to.
He's kind of an a-hole.
Mm-hmm. He's a total asshole.
He's like Reed Richards a little bit in that way, where he's kind of a jerk. And I'm glad they got to that a little bit, because he's not... Even though, yes, he is a hero and he's done good things for the good of, whatever, working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and doing the stuff that he did, he he was kind of a jerk in the way he went about it, and the way he treated people. Maybe even in some cases, we saw in the comics, and we don't necessarily know in this movie, but even his own wife.
Yeah.
And we saw it in the first movie. The way he handled his daughter growing up was not a great. Kind of turned away from her, let her kind of raise herself. And we saw it in his relationship with Darren Cross.
Yeah.
He can be kind of a cold guy when he's focused on just whatever he's focused on, just his work or whatever. So yeah, I liked getting into more of that in this movie, and the thing I liked is that with Lawrence Fishburne's character of Bill Foster, and him pointing all that stuff out, and so he wasn't necessarily. We saw that he wasn't. On the same token, he wasn't all bad. The Lawrence Fishburne character.
He wasn't really. He was just trying to help this girl.
He was trying to help this girl.
I'm
Just
so
going
glad.
about it the wrong way.
So I like what they did with those, just the two of them. That dynamic they had in the movie.
It's pretty interesting how they did the Bill Foster character in general, though.
Yeah.
In complete different
A shield,
from what we know.
a shield guy.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool little twist. And I wasn't expecting him to have that big of a role.
Yeah, me
but
either.
he had a very serious role, and he could eventually have a bigger role down the line.
I think he will.
Whether or not, who knows what they're doing with him. But I don't think you cast this role with Lawrence Fishburne if you don't have plans.
Absolutely.
It's almost like you did the Michael Douglas thing. You promise him a few movies, something big, not something side character-wise. Same with Janet Van Dyne, Michelle Pfeiffer. It's not just for a small piece of a movie, which... off topic, I guess, from Bill Foster, but I love the way they handled Janet Van Dyne in this movie. Absolutely love that she wasn't in a lot.
Right.
Just enough to kind of get us thinking and theorizing. But I can't wait to see more from her in the future, because I know she's going to come back.
Let's really quick, let's talk about it. It's something we saw in the first movie, but Marvel is just, they're the kings of this right now, which is the de-aging technology.
I was just thinking about that.
Dude.
That was amazing at the beginning.
The Michelle Pfeiffer one was...
She looked so real. That literally looked like that was her.
Man. Like, it was...
Which makes me more confident. I know this is off
for Captain Marvel.
For Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
if they're gonna de-age
Samuel
L.
Nick
Jackson
Fury,
and Clark Gregg.
Yeah, right.
But that's going to be the entire movie, which is going to be weird.
It's gonna be weird, but I mean, if anyone's gonna pull it off,
it keeps getting better and better,
Yeah.
technology-wise. Yeah, so for me, I think one of the biggest things in the first movie that worked so well was Luis and his crew. For this movie, I thought they were hit and miss. I didn't like them as much in this movie.
Their story
Luis
wasn't as
was
relevant.
great,
Their story
but
wasn't
I
as
feel
relevant.
like T.I. and the other guy, I forget the actor's name, but they were more involved in the first one.
100%.
They were actually in on the mission in the first one.
Yeah.
They kind of got involved at the end in this one. They were still funny, but for me, it was like, oh man, I wish those guys were in it more. But I guess we didn't have much time.
I think,
I
think there was so much going on, and the fact that everyone loved Luis in the first one. They're like, okay, we can't put focus on these two. We got to put focus on Luis.
Yeah.
Which threw him into the action more than he was in the first.
That was awesome.
The one callback that they did in this movie with the flashback of Luis and
telling the
how
story.
they met in prison and
That was
we're going to be
great.
best friends.
That
And
was
like,
really good.
and it's just
I love
it's
the way
such a
the
good
other
time.
actors play those
Yes.
scenes
Yes.
when he's talking as them. Like
Well, and
Lily.
you can see her lipping, and she lips with a little bit of a gangster
Doing all
accent
the
to
hand
her.
motions.
Yeah,
Well, they're
That
doing
was
it
so
as if
funny.
they were him.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's
funny.
very
Yeah, no,
good.
Luis was great. I love. He wasn't like over the top in action and everything, like to a point where like, okay, why does he need to be there? He can't be doing that. That's not really real. He was in it.
Exactly.
Like he was driving a
Just
car,
enough,
or
yeah.
he was getting them the transponder, or whatever
all
it may be.
realistic things.
Exactly, and so I like the way they kind of handled his character
I
and
liked
progressed him forward.
The Russian guy when he was talking about the ghost ghost.
Oh yeah,
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, yeah, and then he saw Ghost. He
I
goes
was
Baba Yaga, Baba Yaga.
dying when that
He was
came
freaking
up.
out. That was so
so
good.
funny.
That scene altogether was really good.
Yeah, I mean, all of them were used.
Yeah.
T.I. probably not as much.
Yeah. He didn't have that
Compared
much dialogue.
No, he
compared
just
to-
The one good line though he had is he's like a jukebox. You put a dime in, you got to listen to a little
listen-
song.
That
Yeah.
was
That was
great.
really
that whole
good.
scene was
Yeah.
great. The truth
Yeah.
serum stuff
Yeah.
and how it just kept coming back.
Although I felt like they may have done that a little too much.
They over-
the truth
it
serum
lasted
thing.
a little too
like
long.
with the guy at the very end, it is truth serum. Like we get it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
funny, sure. Do
the
it a few
whole
times.
crowd was cracking
Yes,
up at
they
that.
were. They definitely were.
Yeah, they did say it too many times.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't say it as much in the beginning, and they could have saved that joke for the end.
Yeah.
Speaking of Luis, it got me thinking about the shrinking and growing powers the way that it was handled in this movie. We saw some new things. We saw some different things. Just being in the car. So I was listening to another reviewer, and they were talking about how can someone who just in those cars, when you activate the shrinking, do you shrink in the car? Like, if the car's closed, is the technology working on you just because you're in the car? And how Luis shrank, and he's never done it before, and how he was just totally fine after doing it.
I mean, it seems to be the case. It looks like, I mean, they did it multiple times, not just with the Hot Wheel car thing, but also when Hank Pym went down to the Quantum Realm.
Yeah,
he didn't shrink. The ship around him shrunk, and he shrunk with it.
Yeah, true.
And so it seems like the technology they're building, or the Pym tech, the Pym particle, is just whatever is inside of it. In fact, like the suit shrinks.
It's like a force field, kind of.
Yeah, like you can think of it this way, like in the beginning or the very first Ant-Man, the suit has the technology to shrink, not the human. If it was the other way around, the suit would shrink and tear if the human wouldn't shrink. And so the car shrinks with everything on the inside of it. And so I got that feeling just from kind of thinking about everything kind of backwards as far as, well, if that's not the case, like say they were to shrink and Luis didn't go big, or he stayed big, then why didn't Paul Rudd stay big when the suit shrinks as well?
No, you're right.
Like, it's kind of like an overall thing that they're trying to make sure everyone knows. And the toy car stuff was incredible.
Yeah.
The way they did the sound,
Matchbox set.
yeah, the match and the sounds where it's like going down the street. It's so good the way they handled it.
I heard you like freaking out.
Dude, it was
car chase scene.
it was so good the way they handled it, and like having Evangeline Lilly do it, and then having Luis do it, and it's just that whole San Francisco set at the very end as well, because we're so close to San Francisco, and
how
it
about
was such a
that
good
elementary school scene?
Dude, the elementary school scene was so good. Just miniature Paul Rudd, and
I was dying with that. My son and I were just cracking up at that.
Although I will say this for me personally, because I scroll through YouTube and stuff, it was a thumbnail on one of the videos. Seeing him,
it was
commercial. It was. I didn't see the video, but it was a thumbnail of him, and it was her looking down on him and so it got spoiled for me a little bit.
It was in one of the commercials. The part where he gets in the car and he goes, "You want a juice box?"
Oh, I didn't see that. That was great.
I knew all of that coming into it, so that got.
I love when she says, "What would Cap think of you now?" And that's so good. And it just plays back to the whole Civil War thing and everything going on.
Well, speaking of that, I love in the beginning when he's like, Cap, and then she's like, Cap,
and he goes,
like,
America?
Yeah, he's like, that's what we call him.
Yeah.
He's like,
he goes, I think we're friends.
Yeah.
It's such a good, the connection back to it is really cool, and it also let the audience know that this movie takes place before Infinity War. Like, this is immediately after Civil War, because it does come out after Infinity War and everything, but it was kind of it was kind of just an information piece for everyone to know.
It's not right. It takes 2 years.
But I'm saying that this is before Infinity War, not right after. This is before Infinity War. That's
to me, this is going on almost exactly
at the same time.
That's
what I think. Parallel.
Yeah. But I'm saying before the events in Infinity War, it's more it's connected to Civil War and then the Infinity War.
If it wasn't for the part that said he's where they talked about how he's at the end of his 2-year house arrest, I would have assumed.
Well, and he's also on the phone with Hank Pym saying, "I haven't talked to you guys in a while." Right, blah, blah. There was connections all throughout the film,
and the fact that it's set in San Francisco and all the stuff in Infinity War was started
so far away.
So it's far.
And they weren't even paying attention to the news or anything because they were on their own mission and everything like that. This movie is freaking awesome. So, what did you guys think of the villains? The villains are kind of a weak spot for me, but then I wouldn't even call Ghost really a villain.
No.
She's more of an, like you said in the review, an antagonist.
She's an antagonist. She's just working against them.
Or an anti-hero, you could say.
In a way, yeah. Because the thing for me is, the one thing I did like about her is, we've never really seen this before in the MCU at least, she's dying. All she wants to do is survive and get rid of this pain that she's experiencing. That's her main motivation. And it wasn't for money, it wasn't to... And they tricked us in the trailers again. In the trailers, Luis says, the super creepy ghost, she wants to take over the world. Yeah. He says that in the trailer, and then that has nothing to do with it in the movie. Yeah. I did like that motivation because it was something different, but I just didn't feel like, as a villain or antagonist, that she hit that hard for me. Did you guys like Ghost?
She was okay.
I almost wanted more.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely wasn't... I definitely feel like there wasn't enough of her because, like we had mentioned in our review, there was 3 or 4 different parties going on, and it did take away from her a little bit, and so.
But everybody going after.
But overall, as a character, I thought she was very interesting, and I like the fact that she doesn't have the same powers as Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's not the suit that does it; it's herself. Like she's the one doing it all, and she's not doing it on purpose. Like it just kind of happens, and so I like the way they handled it. Could she have been used more? Yes. Could she have been used in a little different way? Sure.
I don't think they're done with her.
No, because
I don't
her
think so.
dad actually has a huge in the comics anyway, has a huge connection to everything else going on.
Yeah.
And so they could use her down the line, and they were saying the Thunderbolts, which is kind of like a bad team, I guess you could say. The Ghost could be a part of that and be kind of a precursor for what's going to happen with that.
I'm curious though, does she still have powers
I don't
after
think
they healed her?
Well, yeah.
But at the same time, Scott does say he was getting the stuff from the quantum realm for Ghost. So why does she need that? Maybe she just healed her temporarily.
Well, we don't know. Well, that's the thing, and it leads into whatever it is. And when we talk about Janet, what kind of abilities, power she gained being in the quantum realm? Because whatever it is she did to her, perhaps it was only temporary.
Yeah, just stopped it for
just to
a
keep
little
her from.
bit.
Yeah.
I feel like it just kind of like, say she's at 100, she put her back down to like 0, but then it slowly starts climbing.
And she needs that stuff from the quantum realm to.
And I think she's gonna. I don't think it's ever to me. I never got the idea that it's ever gonna like stop. Like she's gonna always need
have
that.
some degree of that.
Like she's relies on it. But if she doesn't have any powers, which I personally don't think she will, because her whole gist was that she did the whole like teleporting thing, but once Janet stopped it, she stopped doing it.
Yeah.
All she is kind of now is like
she's a girl
super
now. She's a person.
Deadly assassin.
Yeah, right.
Person.
A shield.
Oh, well,
operative.
that's true because she did say she was trained.
She's
by
worked for
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Shield.
She's working for Shield all these years. Yeah.
I kind of made Shield look bad.
Oh, definitely.
It definitely.
That was the first time.
Definitely.
Yeah. That they said like she was like their Winter Soldier.
Right.
In a way, she said I killed for them.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, we know that Shield was infiltrated by Hydra by now.
True.
So. We knew there were good and bad people in S.H.I.E.L.D. this whole time.
But she said when S.H.I.E.L.D. fell, they kind of just discarded her a little bit. She kind of got left behind. So I don't know if...
I kind of like it if they gave S.H.I.E.L.D. like a little bit of a back.
Oh, yeah. Just like any
absolutely.
government agency.
Yeah. I liked that. But I mean, she's super deadly assassin now.
Yeah, definitely.
They showed her like,
clearly she can fight.
She can.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think even when she had her powers, I think she was able to control it a little bit because she has to be able to face in and out because that one terrifying scene that I did thought I was like, oh, this villain is really cool is when she had her fist, her hand through
I know.
neck.
Jake and
damn.
Jake and I both like,
yeah,
like we were like, oh,
I thought she might kill him.
I thought
she could make her fist go solid.
Yeah.
And then
I thought for
dead.
sure he was done at
like
that scene.
like the Reverse Flash does.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh, and I loved when Paul Rudd said, "You're not going to stick your hand in my chest and cross my heart, are you?"
Yeah.
Dude, Paul Rudd was even better in this movie. He was great. I love when they would say something like really intelligent. He's like, "That's what I was thinking." That stuff was hilarious. And then Bill Foster says something as they're leaving his office, and he says, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
Like Hope and Hank are like, "Oh, okay, got it." And then he's like, "I don't know what that means," and then walks away. I just thought Paul Rudd took it to another level with his comedic chops. He was.
I loved the Bill and him comparing their size.
Even though we saw it in the trailer, it was
funny. It worked.
It was a little bit different too in the actual movie.
I think as far as villains, and we'll get into maybe Walton Goggins a little bit and how little he was used again. Jake and I were talking about Tomb Raider, and he was almost used in the same way, and it was just really weird the way his character was. But this movie is kind of a race against time, and I really think if you want to say it, I mean, I think the villain, if you want to say, is time, because you got Paul Rudd, Scott, he's got the 3 days until he can get out of his house arrest. Hank and Hope have to find Janet before she gets lost.
True, and they only have 2 hours.
And they only have a
once
little
she
bit of time to do
activates
that.
the thing.
Yeah, the girl is a ghost.
Oh, she's dying?
She's dying. She's only got a
I
couple
guess
of
that
days.
is a little
So
theme here.
all of that stuff kind of blended together, and I think everything that's really kind of what it is. Instead of having just one overarching villain who's trying to take over or whatever, or steal this or steal that, and it's a bunch
That's
of people
actually a really
trying
good point.
Yeah,
They all
it's
have
just-
deadlines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Time's a villain in
Mhm.
this movie, and everybody's racing to get what they
That was
need.
one of the only things that kind of like got me was I felt like it was a lot longer than the 3 days that it took.
Yeah,
Like I felt like it was definitely like I felt like it was like 5 days.
Yeah.
Like 3 days I felt like didn't give us
Yeah.
that much time.
Yeah. Speaking of Walton Goggins, man, while Ghost I was iffy on, I just can't believe what they are doing to him. Like,
Yeah.
just get some actor I don't care about in to play that role. Like,
rather
why do you
than-
have to
Yeah.
get Walton Goggins in and just make him look bad? Because it's not his fault. Like in
Yeah.
these movies,
I
and
think-
then people think that he sucks because his character sucks.
and he
you
kept
know?
alluding to his buyer or whoever he's working for, but we don't.
I think
Yeah,
I know,
no,
and that's
I'm
what I
just
was
kidding.
waiting for the entire
Yeah,
time.
right.
I was waiting for that the entire time to find out
Justin Hammer or something
who
like
he was
that.
That's
working
I don't know.
for.
I thought about that. I was like, oh, what if it's Justin Hammer?
It
It
has
just-
to be some competitor. Like,
Somewhat, yeah.
It sucks that that's now who he is in the MCU though.
Yeah,
You know,
I know,
like,
I know.
he's
he
not
could
going
have
to
been
be
something
used.
else. Yeah.
He's not going
Right.
to be used in any other way. And I mentioned this in the review, but if Tarantino ever directs a Marvel movie, you have to get Walter Goggins in it because he's the
Walter.
only director who knows how to do it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then now he's already.
Yeah.
in
I
it,
personally could totally see him being used in like a third one, setting up whoever this buyer is as the bad guy though.
Yeah,
It would be interesting. I mean, it would
Yeah.
be very interesting.
yeah. Ghost, really quick. One thing I liked about her is that they didn't. You actually, by the end of it, you do feel for her. Probably like halfway through,
Ghost?
really. Yeah. When she explains her story, and I like the way one of my favorite parts of the movie is where she threatens. When she's got them all tied up and they get away, and she threatens to, I'm gonna go after her daughter, and Bill Foster is like, no, if you do that, I'm not helping you. I'm out. I'm not gonna let you do that. And she doesn't do it, and so you really get a sense that okay, that's when I had the feeling of okay, she's probably not as bad.
Yeah, because I thought she was going to go.
Because I thought she was going to do it. That's what, yeah, right.
Oh my
And it
God,
would have been.
that's terrible.
I like that they did that, and they didn't make her totally.
I thought they were going to go after the wife after that.
I thought about that as well.
right after
yeah.
she said like, "Oh, I'll think of
There's other
something
ways.
else."
She
wanted
There's
to get
that-
him- yeah, right.
There's
So-
other
yeah,
ways.
right.
I was like,
I
"Oh,
can't
okay."
even remember what she did after that. Like, there's other ways. She just went after them
Right.
again.
Oh,
she went to Louise.
Maybe she just
yeah.
went to.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
probably,
Oh,
that's
she
what
went
it
to
was.
Louise.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just spied on them until she figured out what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was probably gonna go kidnap Louise or something, and then Walton
Probably,
Goggins
yeah.
was already there.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the best scenes in the movie. That scene.
Well, that was when you got the
Yeah,
Baba
exactly.
Yaga stuff. So
Yeah.
that was good. But yeah, I like how they did that with her, and I like to see. It's a nice change of pace to get a villain after everything we've been through, just to get a villain who's just not completely just psychopathic or
Yeah.
just whatever, just murderous or whatever. Just she has a thing she wants to do. She's going about it the wrong way, but she ultimately she's not completely bad.
Yeah.
and she's redeemable.
So I'm curious. So for the third act, I'm curious if you guys felt the same way. I felt the third act, other than the Janet Van Dyne stuff and the Quantum Realm, I thought the third act was a little bit anticlimactic. Like there wasn't, not that there has to be, but there wasn't like some big showdown, or it was just him getting the lab back from Goggins, and that was it. But then Hank saving Janet in the Quantum Realm, that was the big part of the third act, which worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was so cool seeing the Quantum Realm and those little creatures in there, those little cells or whatever they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And then when he finally got to her, which was way deep into the Quantum Realm,
Yeah.
that stuff was great. But as far as like, there was no big battle at the end or nothing where I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just saw that.
Yeah.
Which not every comic book movie has to have that. But how did you guys feel about the third act? Like, I feel like the movie just kind of ended.
I kept, like, for me, kind of goes off of your Battle Against Time. I felt like the fight, or whatever, if you want to go there, was if they get stuck in the Quantum Realm.
Right.
First, I mean, I was like, oh crap, now Hank's going to get trapped in there too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was kind of like thinking, oh, here we go. That's like the
when
villain at this
when
point.
they got out,
Time.
they didn't show him. You couldn't see him.
No.
Because
I was
Janet
like-
came out of the ship and you couldn't see him at all.
I thought she got out.
Yeah, I thought he got
and
stuck
he
in.
got
He
stuck
didn't.
in.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting if
I thought he died.
Me too.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he died in the crash that had just happened.
Oh, yeah.
coming
That
out
could've-
of
yeah,
Walt's
right.
realm.
Yeah.
I thought
So.
that they might have switched,
Yeah.
but he like sacrificed himself.
Somehow, yeah.
And he just goes like, "Don't
only
worry,
one
I'm
person
fine."
can fit in the pod or something.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Well, that leads me to, I guess, the mid-credit scene, we should say, because
The only important credit scene.
yeah, in a way, there is.
Yes.
We could talk about the end one. There is something
There's-
significant in
yeah.
there that I do want to talk about. Not the ant playing drums.
Oh,
but,
that's what I thought.
But so this mid-credit scene. So how long after the movie actually ends do we think that credit scene takes
A
place?
week.
Yeah,
You think
that's
so?
what I was
A
thinking.
Because I was wondering the
Yeah.
same thing. Like, okay, so if Ant-Man and the Wasp ends when they're watching movies on the laptop, which was great,
Right.
actually. There was like 20 cars there. Who
Yeah.
was all there?
It was all
The toy cars. It was
You
all
know
the toy
what?
cars.
You might be right, Jake. Maybe this, a little bit before Infinity War than we think.
I don't think it's set directly
You might
during. I think it may be like
yeah.
a couple weeks.
Because
a
we'd have
month or
seen
whatever it
some,
may be.
yeah. Because we'd have seen something about it. Something
Well, there would have been something on the news,
on the news
or
that's what I'm
something like
saying.
that.
Yeah,
and
so you might be right.
The mid-credit scene is when it takes place. During.
Yeah.
That's when it all starts happening.
I just pictured it as like this is a week before, or maybe
Yeah, it's like a
I
week,
think
2 weeks,
that,
a month,
well,
something like
that stretch in between from the watching the movie scene up till the post-credit scene,
True, because
that's Infinity War.
Yeah.
The
And
then
normal citizens in the background weren't acting different. Like,
Right.
even though they're in San Francisco, if an alien invasion was happening and all that
in
stuff,
New York and
the whole
yeah.
world would be at chaos.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it was well before, and then the mid-credit scene is like right around the same
Yeah,
time as
the
Infinity War,
end,
obviously.
Yeah.
So the thing for me is, they kept in the marketing. They kept teasing, "Where's Ant-Man? Where's Ant-Man?" Everybody's asked during Infinity War, "Where's Ant-Man?" He was in the freaking quantum realm, like
Right.
during the events.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well,
no,
Ant-
he was in the quantum realm when the snap happened.
Okay.
He was
just at home.
He was at home. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything. I think.
he was on house arrest.
Well, no, he
No,
got
not
off
by
house
that
arrest.
Oh well, yeah.
I
But
think
that's why
it
I'm
could have
saying
been
we don't see that. We don't know.
It could have.
Just-
We keep going back to this movie
But
about
the
it
thing
being
is, Infinity War happens in like the span of hours.
Well, here's
a day at most.
Here's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Well, the house arrest. See, that's the odd connection in the whole thing is they mentioned the house arrest thing in
Mhm.
Infinity War. He got
Yeah.
off of it by the time Ant-Man ended.
Right.
But I look at it as maybe he hung up the Ant-Man suit after those events. He wanted to be a dad, like the family aspect of this movie. And then maybe he's putting on the suit to
Just
do the
to-
technology
exactly, yeah.
with the Pims. He's doing some stuff. He's
Janet
not going
came
to be a
and took the
hero.
suit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean they took the suit from
Yeah,
him, and so maybe he doesn't have access to it,
Yeah,
and maybe
that's possible.
and so I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities, but and we don't know the exact time, but it could really go either way. With
Well,
that.
clearly they don't know that he's off house arrest
Yeah.
because they're obviously busy with everything that's
yeah, they're
happening.
not. They don't know the exact what day he gets
Yeah,
off. and
so they
everything
just
like
know that he's on house arrest. We can't call him. So
Yeah,
they
and
just
even
don't.
if he's not, he's in San Francisco
Right.
with his
Well,
daughter.
and you can
He
also
never
think of
would.
it as this way too. When you're watching Infinity War, they don't go out and recruit people. All those characters kind of just end up
they
together.
just get thrown
Oh
in.
yeah.
Nobody's like
Yeah,
like Civil
they're
War, where
not,
they
like-
literally recruited people.
Right.
They don't go and get him.
There's
They
no time.
everyone
They
was
just got-
already kind of together.
The fight came to them. They just had to
Exactly.
just do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
no time.
there was no time to be like, we need to get Scott.
Let's go get
Lang.
Scott. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
Right.
So we knew people were going to dust at the end of this movie.
Yes.
And I know we were all shocked. Like, Keith, we were shocked when it was all three of them. How did you react to
Let
that?
me just tell you, I wasn't even thinking about it throughout the movie. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, I was
until
kinda the same way.
Until
I
the
was the
credits
same way.
started.
Yeah, honestly,
when the credits
me too.
started, and I thought, okay, well, obviously
They're
we're
gonna
waiting to
have
see-
some
Oh
type
wait,
of
it's going to be
reference.
an Infinity War thing
Yeah.
probably. And then when it happened, as soon obviously okay, so we're picking up on everything that Janet's telling him about. Stay away from this. Stay away from the time vortexes. Watch out for this. Obviously, stuff that that.
I want
going
to
be
see it
something.
again and pay attention to everything she says. I
Yeah.
know she says, stay away from time vortexes. We
Yeah.
won't be able to get you out.
And once he goes in, and as it's happening, it was just as harrowing because there was no music, just like they did in Infinity War.
yeah,
Just as harrowing as
Yep.
as Infinity War.
It sucked, man.
Me and my kids were sitting there going, "Oh,
It was a
man,
gut punch.
Oh, oh no, like it was a real feeling of
just getting Janet back.
Yeah, right.
Seeing the three of them together.
Yes, and then you just get that. Oh god, that's right. Everything sucks. That's right.
The slow motion dust. What do you want to call it?
Dusting.
Yeah,
Dusting.
Dust falling was like
ashes, I guess.
Ashes.
Yeah, ashes.
Ashes. Which is weird because some people turned to ash, some people just disappeared. This is a stupid little thing, but I remember noting that there were some people that just they just kind of faded away and there was nothing, and then some people were actually like Bucky and these people obviously turned to little dust. Ashes.
Yeah, and
kind of weird.
Jacob knows this because I said this in the review, but I thought that was the worst mistake they made in this movie. Is doing that to Hope Van Dyne.
You think so?
Because we've been waiting so long for her,
yeah,
and they've been teasing her, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen with Avengers 4. I think it was just a huge mistake because they could have really, really used her in Avengers 4. I thought she could be a huge part because of her science aspect. And how incredibly intelligent she is
so much.
With everything going on as far as the quantum realm, as far as technology with possibly space travel or whatever it may be.
I can deal with that. Yeah.
But also because she kicks total butt. But it's also just we've been waiting so damn long for her.
Yeah.
And she was the bright star of this movie. I just feel like killing or dusting Hank and dusting Janet. It made sense. We just got Janet back. Dusting Hank Pym.
That's the one that
sucks.
gets to me. Is Janet. You could have kept her around,
but she
could have just been like, "What the?" Just looking around with what?
Exactly.
What is happening?
It makes it very interesting because, and this is getting into something completely different, and we'll save this for part 2 as well. But there have been rumblings that a certain character has shared screen time with Janet Van Dyne, Michelle Pfeiffer for Avengers 4. And there's also been rumblings that a certain character has shared screen time with Captain Marvel. And so it begs the question as far as how do they get back and when do they get back. So maybe we'll see those characters back a little bit sooner than others.
Yeah, maybe. I'm okay with the Hope thing for now because I think she's going to, once she comes back, she's going to be in every Avenger movie from now on. She's going to be in
Ant-Man. Hope, man. I really hope so.
3. They're going to make an Ant-Man 3. They are.
I hope so. It depends on how much this movie makes.
That's very true.
Depends on how much this movie makes.
That's absolutely true. It has to be. I mean, the first one was very profitable. This one probably had a bigger budget.
At worst, we'll see the characters.
I think
if
there's any studio that will just make a movie to make a movie because it deserves to be made, it's Marvel.
Yeah.
It depends on the money, obviously, but the characters I think will be back. I hope so because Evangeline Lilly, man, she could be a star.
Oh yeah,
alongside people like Brie Larson, alongside Tessa Thompson, or if Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth stays, like just imagine seeing Wasp and Thor together.
I think it's going to be more balanced. Before we only had Black Widow, and then we had Scarlet Witch, but I think by Avengers 5, like it's going to be an equal playing field of women and men.
I think there will be more women.
Yeah,
I think there will be more women than
Feige said it's going to eventually outnumber.
Feige did come out and say that there's going to be more women than men, but I think that it's going to be a lot sooner than later.
And they're all awesome.
They all kick ass.
Get into the Wasp really quick. We didn't really. She was awesome.
She's the best part of the movie. I mean,
she
was awesome. As far as a single character, she definitely is.
To me,
she was really cool.
They have to do something else because. Is that drive-in scene confirming that Scott and her are together and that's
100%.
it?
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
It looked like it.
I mean,
that's what
I think they're together.
I mean, I think they are, and the daughter said that you're his partner and all that stuff.
It was destined to be because that's how they were in the comics.
That's
how they were in the comics.
The way they interact together, they love each other. Like when she's looking at him when she gets back in the car, I forgot what scene that was.
And Hank had to keep saying, "Are you guys done?"
And then she gets and she's like staring at him.
Yeah, they're just looking at each other, and he's like, "Okay, are you guys done?"
And like they're so opposites. Like
opposites attract.
He's a goofy guy, and
criminal.
She's like so serious, badass, intelligent. They're like perfect for each other because they offset each other so much. So I think they're definitely gonna be together. I think they're both gonna be in Avengers 5 on the main team. After this,
I hope so, man. It would be really cool to see those two kind of characters interact with someone like Scarlet Witch, or if it's the Winter Soldier. Like imagine Paul Rudd and the Winter Soldier having a conversation together,
or Spider-Man,
or Spider, the bug aspect of it. You know,
can do so many different things. Like with those characters.
Well, we saw Hawkeye and Ant-Man in Civil War and what they were able to do with the arrow, and
exactly.
like there's just so many more possibilities with that.
Yeah, so, and even though Paul Rudd is in his 40s, he does not look like it, so...
No, he can be in this universe for a while. And I think he wants to be. I think he has really good
He
time
probably
doing
never thought he
this.
would get an opportunity like this, like a comedic actor in his 40s playing a superhero. Like, that's awesome.
And Peyton Reed direct. I think they have a good rapport.
Peyton Reed's awesome. He does some really good stuff.
He wants Fantastic Four back.
Yeah, he does some really good stuff. I think he could be someone like... Marvel has a roster of directors that's not leaving. You have the Russos, you have James Gunn,
Ryan Coogler.
You have Ryan Coogler, who wants to come back, that's the first sequel he'll ever do, and Peyton Reed, who's sticking around doing the small budget, or not small budget, but small story Ant-Man.
Taika Waititi.
Give him Fantastic Four and let him just do whatever he wants. Let him do whatever he wants.
I think he would be good for Fantastic Four, because if they even want to try to do like a whole family aspect, I mean, Fantastic Four is known in Marvel as the first family of comic books. So I'm not saying like it needs to be like Ant-Man, where it typically caters more towards family and comedy. But if anyone's going to pull off the family aspect at this point in time, he's going to be
either him or Brad Bird.
That's what I'm saying.
That's an interesting question. The Incredibles,
in a way. And I wouldn't mind if they have kids. You just start the universe and they already have kids.
Yeah.
I'm not saying their kids have to have powers or anything like that, because I know they have kids in the comics who have powers, but they could just have kids, and that could be just good storylines for them and everything like that. Anyways, let's wrap this up, guys. I want to know right now as it stands, where is this rank in the MCU?
Oh my god, I haven't even thought of
Glad you asked.
And where does it rank this year for movies for you? If you guys
think about that, that's a good question. Well, I updated my MCU rankings. My top 10 is the same, but I actually have this. So I got, just to start at 10, I've got Thor at 10, Doctor Strange, and then I've got Ant-Man and the Wasp at number 12.
Not bad.
It is. I don't know where it.
We had 19 or 20 movies.
There's
19.
19.
This was number 20.
Is it 20? Is it a 20? You threw it on us, but I'm not 100% sure. No, I'm going to put it in my MCU rankings, but I will say that it's above the first one.
Around where it is.
And the first one was about, I'd say probably around the mid-pack range, like 10, 12, somewhere around there.
That's tough because the MCU is so great.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it does crack my top 10 in MCU.
It's good enough.
I had a lot of fun in it's solely based on Wasp. Solely based on her in this movie. So
I agree.
But yeah, and then as far as this year, I would say it cracks my top 5.
Tops your crack 5.
It cracks my top 5, and that's putting it above Black Panther for me.
That's crazy.
So
that's crazy.
Because I didn't have Black Panther in my top 5. It was number 6 for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for MCU for me, I think it's in the upper half. Like I don't know if it's in my top 10, but it's in that 11-12 range.
Sure. Yeah.
And then for this year, it's in like my top 7 movies. I don't know if it cracks my top 5 yet, because my number 5 was Deadpool 2, and then I had Hereditary at number 6. So it's in the mix right there.
Yeah.
It's like tied for 5th if I have to choose.
Cool.
I'm probably same around 10, 11, 12
for
MCU. Yeah. I think I have it at number like 6 on my year for the year.
Yeah.
I've been
top 10.
I've been fighting between that one and Solo, and I think Solo.
I like Solo a little bit more just because it's Star Wars.
I like this more than Solo.
But it's...
I don't blame you at all.
Solo.
This could totally change after I see it a second time. I could see it a second time and be like, and honestly, it could be my favorite movie of the year.
I'll put $5 on anybody right now that Jacob comes back and says it's going to be one of his favorite movies of the year. Yeah. And that it'll be better than the first.
100%.
Sure. Because he's probably done it about a dozen times before.
I already changed my mind.
You change your mind after the second viewing. You always come back like, yeah, I liked it a lot more that time around.
Well, so. I do, and I did that with Solo also.
Yep. It'll be in your top 5 of the year. I think you will like it more than the first one after your second viewing.
Wow.
And I even think you're going to like Ghost after the second viewing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to say it right now.
You should watch it and then Ghost.
Dude, I kind of want to go watch it right now. Like today. That's what Movie Pass is for. Unless it's surcharge. We'll see if it's surcharge.
I have Ocean's 8 at 5. I would actually bump that. I have Deadpool 2 at 4. I would move that down to 5. I'd put this at 4.
At 4?
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Cool deal.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our spoiler breakdown of Ant-Man and the Wasp. We didn't talk about everything, but it's really hard. Our part 2 of this isn't necessarily going to be a review, but it's going to be a speculation and, you know, theory on the quantum realm, the post-credit scene, what this means for Avengers 4, if there's any hints towards Captain Marvel. We talked about it a little bit, but we're going to go into depth and just free-for-all talk about that for about 30 minutes or so on the next review. Thank you guys for joining the review. Keith Barnes, Brian, Jake Berlin. I'm your host, Jacob Bartley. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this, and subscribe to Apocalypse Movies. Thank you.